They said the human heart could beat for a lifetime, but no one ever said whose lifetime. In the year 2472, after centuries of bioengineering and cybernetic fusion, the boundary between flesh and machine had vanished. Cities floated in the skies, powered by living engines. People wore memories like clothing, downloaded, edited, replaced. Humanity had conquered death, or so they believed.
But beneath all that progress, in the deepest level of the research complex known as Vault 6, there was one secret that no machine could replicate: a heartbeat, a single, persistent rhythm that refused to die. It pulsed inside a containment chamber of glass and titanium, connected to cables that shimmered with electric light. The chamber sat in silence, no hum of engines, no chatter of researchers, just the steady, stubborn sound of a human heart. Scientists called it Specimen 09. They studied it for decades. They mapped every pulse, every electrical signature, every chemical trace. But nothing they did could make it stop or explain why it kept going. They said it was just tissue, an anomaly of biology. But one woman knew better. She called it something else. She called it her father.
Dr. Elara Voss grew up inside the sterile glow of laboratories, where the hum of machines replaced lullabies. Her earliest memories were not of playgrounds or friends, but of corridors lined with glass and chrome. Beyond one of those panes, suspended in blue light, a single heartbeat, steady, patient, eternal. The adults called it Specimen 09, but to her, it was father. Rowan Voss had once commanded the fleet that defended the outer colonies. His name was written into military hymns, whispered in the academies of Mars. When the Soul Wars ended and the soldiers came home, he never did. His ship disintegrated in orbit, yet his heart kept beating, found intact amid the wreckage, untouched by fire. Scientists called it a miracle of biology. Elara called it proof of love.
As she matured, fascination became obsession. She memorized every pattern of the pulse, studied every molecule of its tissue. She built her career on questions no one else dared to ask. Could memory live inside flesh? Could emotion survive the death of the mind? She told herself she was chasing science, but in truth, she was chasing him.
Years turned into decades, and Elara became the leading authority on biosynthetic preservation. Awards, interviews, government contracts, none of it mattered. Each night she returned to the containment chamber, stood before the glass, and whispered stories from her day, as though speaking to a parent who had merely fallen asleep. And sometimes the monitors changed, faintly, subtly, as if the heart recognized her voice.
The project was meant to be routine, mapping microimpulses across the muscle fibers. But the readings refused to stay static. The heart responded to tone, to words, even to moods. When Elara spoke with confidence, its rhythm slowed, tranquil. When she wavered or felt sorrow, it raced until alarms blared.
At first, she suspected contamination, an echo of her own biosignature feeding back through the sensors. Yet, repeated isolation tests proved otherwise. The heart reacted only when she was present. Cameras recorded nothing visible, but the data streams told another story. It was as though the organ could sense emotion, not through sound or heat, but through memory.
Elara stopped logging numbers and began keeping journals, pages filled with her thoughts, fears, and fragments of her father's old letters. The line between research and confession blurred. One entry read, "Perhaps consciousness is rhythm,
and rhythm never dies.
Her colleagues warned her she was losing objectivity. Funding was cut, security clearance suspended, but she continued, alone, working in secrets under the hum of dim lights. Night after night she spoke to the heart, teaching it words, teaching it names. And then, one evening, it answered, not with speech, but with a shift so deliberate, so unmistakable, that it felt like the first syllable of a forgotten language.
The breakthrough came unexpectedly. At exactly 3:14 a.m., every monitor in Vault 6 flared white. The containment chamber trembled as the heart released a surge of bioelectric energy far beyond any human threshold. Systems rebooted. Satellites registered the pulse as a signal, precise, repetitive, expanding outward into the void. Elara's hands shook as she traced the coordinates. The source wasn't local. It wasn't even within the solar system. The signal had bounced back from a point nearly 600 light-years away. Somewhere in the cold dark of interstellar space, something had received the heartbeat and sent one in return. News leaked within hours. Networks called it the pulse paradox. Some said it proved life beyond humanity. Others feared it was a cosmic virus. Governments ordered her to shut the experiment down, but Elara refused. For the first time, the heart wasn't just surviving, it was communicating. And if that meant her father's echo had reached the stars, she intended to follow.
Elara repurposed an exploration vessel, the Eidolon, embedding the living heart into its quantum core. The ship's navigation system became intertwined with its pulse, mapping trajectories through rhythmic variations rather than coordinates. Every beat pointed a direction. Every pause suggested a turn. She left orbit without authorization, leaving behind a world that had grown afraid of its own miracles. Alone in the darkness between suns, she listened to the ship breathe. The engines throbbed in sync with the heart inside its walls. Sleep came rarely. Dreams came often. Flashes of faces, laughter, war cries, and once a memory of her father's saying, "Keep moving forward, Elara."
Months bled into years. She crossed dust fields and dying stars, following the ever-faint signal until it began to fade. The pulse weakened, as though whatever waited ahead was losing strength or hope. Then one day, the readings stopped completely. The silence was heavier than death. The coordinates led her to a planet that should not have existed. A frozen sphere orbiting a dim, collapsing star. Its surface was black glass and ash, its atmosphere thin as smoke. No life, no light, no chance of survival. Yet beneath the surface, sensors detected vibration. Rhythmic, faint, unmistakably human. She descended through fractured tunnels of crystal and bone, her suit light slicing through endless caverns. The deeper she went, the stronger the pulse became, until she reached an immense underground chamber. There, suspended in lattices of ancient metal, floated thousands of hearts, beating, glowing faintly, each encased in its own cocoon of liquid light.
The sight stole her breath. The machinery around them was not human. The architecture curved in ways that defied geometry. These were relics from the architects, the rumored precursors who once shaped worlds and vanished. They had not created life, they had collected it.
Elara linked her ship's neural core to the central node. Data surged through her consciousness. Images,
voices, emotions. She saw soldiers dying beneath alien skies, children laughing in long-lost cities, lovers embracing under artificial moons. The network held every human heart that had ever beaten beyond its time, each one a vessel of memory preserved by the architects. They hadn't been monsters or gods, they had been archivists, keepers of what humanity feared to lose. Each heartbeat was a story, each pulse a life. And at the center of it all was her father's rhythm, guiding her to this place so she could awaken what had slept for millennia.
The heart within the eidolon began to pound louder, matching the resonance of the chamber. The frequencies aligned until the air itself vibrated. Then came silence, complete, weightless silence. In that stillness, Elara heard a single word inside her mind: live. The chamber erupted. Energy waves cascaded through the crust, into space, racing faster than light. Across colonies and derelict stations, dormant machines flickered awake. Androids gasped as if drawing breath for the first time. Starships long abandoned reactivated, their systems humming with unfamiliar warmth. Humanity's lost emotions poured into metal and memory alike. The universe, once cold and mechanical, began to feel again. Elara returned to New Geneva a legend and a mystery. To some she was a savior, to others a heretic who tampered with creation. Yet none could deny what she carried, the proof that the soul is more than code or chemistry. The heart she once guarded no longer beat. It had given its final echo to awaken billions. She placed it back into its glass chamber, not as a specimen, but as a relic, a reminder that life is not measured by time, but by connection.
Years later, when Elara herself was gone, technicians swore they heard something in the silence of Vault 6, a faint, steady rhythm echoing through the walls. Somewhere, far beyond the stars, a single pulse continued to travel outward, eternal, human. The echo of a heart that would never stop.